Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Joseki with Dummies. I'm Vail. It's time for another game review. Let's check it out. I am white in this game, and black opens with a large knight facing his 4/4 stone, and I respond by splitting it. I think I should have played here. I think this is typical these days. This is a little safer, but it's also gives away a lot of territory and a lot of forcing moves. So I could imagine that the game may have played out something like this, in which case I might have gotten a better shape on the right side, but that's not what happened. I split. He plays a checking extension, which forces me to extend upwards and just make a base. And then he plays on the widest side. And here I make a really, I think, a pretty bad mistake. I was thinking that I did not want him to get the ideal extension there at K4 or K3 from his large knight enclosure in the bottom right. So I pincered. However, I probably should have just backed off, let him get it, and then made another enclosure myself. The formation that he has, his 4 stones in the bottom of the board and the bottom right of the board, they're not territory yet. It's still invadable. But I got nervous, and so I pincered. And that led to, I believe, a very unfavorable sequence of moves for me. Now here I didn't want to just play a knight's move. I should have probably played the large knight's move. This is just too invadable, which of course he does immediately. What I probably should have done is played the 3/3, secured my bottom left-hand group, and if he tries to close me off, there's still room for me to move in here. I can still take away his territory with a sequence like this. And there's even cool moves like this later on, where he's got so many cutting points, he can't afford to just defend passively with a hanging connection at J6. He would need to block, in which case I can cut and possibly kill that group. Now it's looking like his territory here is starting to equal the territory that I have here, plus the potential on the left side. This would have been great for me. I wish I would have seen it. It might not have worked out exactly as I planned, but having a living group in some ways, some places to poke at his shape, that's way better than what it turned out to be. As it turned out, he invaded immediately, and I needed to start to make some way out. So I do a few moves that force him to connect and notice that he's making territory and making a living group. And then after I take my corner, so this was a decision. I wasn't sure if I wanted to jump out with this group around this area or take the corner extension. I decided that I needed some territory, so I took the corner enclosure. At which point he starts to put pressure on my not yet alive bottom left group. You'll notice here, black has a pretty secure group here. It's not completely alive yet, but it's strong, and so is this. This group just made a base. This group is definitely alive. And what have I got? I've got a floating wall here that's doing nothing. And I've got a group here that's not quite alive and making almost no territory. So now I have to worry about these two groups, and they're just going to run into nowhere, making no territory. And this is going to be the story of this game. Realizing that I need to find some eye shape and not get completely enclosed in the bottom left, I start to try to do some forcing moves. Notice here that as I make moves to try to secure my bottom left corner, it puts pressure inadvertently on my wall, so I start to have to make some shape there. This was probably a really bad move on my part. I need to try to make my wall do something. I thought about this move in retrospect as I was reviewing it. I don't know if it's a good move or not, but at least it would start to maybe build something towards the middle, something that might turn into territory. Right now, I've got almost no territory. I try to remedy that situation here by making an extension off of the enclosure. And he plays this move. I need to study invasions, apparently. I do not know how to deal with this. I take the 3/3, and he jumps out. And I jump out at a. Because his two stones are kind of far away from me, I decide to jump out a little further than I normally would. Normally, I would play at K15. This was just for speed's sake. However, I probably should have shoulder hit his group, forcing him to extend out, and then played something like this. This group here has potential to, it's more flexible, it has better eye shape. This is probably alive. This is not alive anymore. And now I can harass this, which is kind of my intention at this point in the game. It's either I'm planning on either killing this or killing this, because these are the two weakest groups on the board, and I'm not sure how to deal with large knights. So I need to learn about invasions, this invasion in particular, and I need to learn how to deal with large knights. And as it turns out, I need to not make a bunch of weak groups that I have to worry about. This is what I should have done. This is what I did instead. And of course, he starts to poke at it. Here, I probably could have let this go one more move. Played something along these lines. This would have been better, I think, because I can now start to close off his top group with a sequence like this. Not sure if that would kill this. Probably not. It's hard to kill a big group like this. But as I put pressure on it, I might be able to come back and kill this, in which case this whole side would be mine. In addition, if he plays something to secure life, I was curious about this move. I don't think this works. Yeah, it doesn't work, because he can block that way. And this isn't a move. So never mind that. However, I should have probably done this just to have a fighting chance. Nevertheless, I spend Sente to jump out one more time. Wasn't sure about this, but I probably again should have played something around P6 or P7 to try to turn this group into some territory and take control of the center. As it was, I know there's something you can do in this with this probe, but I'm not sure what it is. Excuse me. So I experimented, and I shouldn't have. Didn't turn out horrible for me. I was able to get a few points. I was curious here if I had played this. I think this would have been better. Again, what happens is I play here and let him make a cut. But this could have been a turning point in the game. If I'd played this, I would have gotten a number of forcing moves. Now see how that's actually turning into some territory? And he still has to worry about his bottom right group. So he would have to play something like this. I could connect. He has to connect. And now, man, I would have loved to have played something like this. This is looking like territory, and I can harass these two groups still. So this would have been way better for me. I might have had a fighting chance at that point. Instead, I block on the wrong side. He cuts through. Now notice that I've got four groups that need help. This group, not completely live. This is okay, but it can still be harassed, as you will see soon. This group, where is it going? This group can be cut off and turned into two groups, and both can be potentially killed. There's lots of peep potentials here. This group has maybe one eye, but not even that can be a sure deal. Whereas he has a living group here, a living group here, a living group here, and these groups are flexible. This is almost alive. This is almost alive. Just bad direction of play on my part. Again, here I should have just connected, and this turns into an interesting sequence in which he has to push to keep me from connecting to my group here, my K group. He has to keep pushing. And then if I do something like that, I threaten to connect up underneath. If he stops me, I can cut. Now, notice that after this group in the middle only has 3 liberties. This group here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This group here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's even, but he can't afford to try to capture this yet because this group, I will capture this first. So first he has to do something to give his group here some shape, some eye space, in which case I can effectively capture this group here. This would have changed the course of the game as well. But again, I didn't see it, and I played here, letting him connect this completely alive group to this out into the middle. Here, again, the only thing left, I think this move here that I made here was the final nail in the coffin. I think this move was such a bad mistake on my part that I had a fighting chance before then. I could still have tried to put some pressure on these two groups and done something, maybe killed one of them. But this was like a pass. I was concerned that I didn't want him to cut, but as it turns out, or Hane, I should say, but as it turns out, after reading it out a little bit, see, I'm worried about this group here. But as it turns out, I can just play this attachment, and these 2 stones are dead. So I don't need to worry about this group. I didn't need to worry about that group. And I didn't need to play that move. If I had, then after I noticed that instead playing H12 would have started the attack on these 2 groups and given me a favorable position. As it is, he gets to play a move that effectively ends any dreams I had of killing either of those 2 groups. Here's my attempt at it. This was an interesting move. I didn't know if it would work or not. The idea was that if you pushed either side, I could make a hanging connection. I've seen this before in books. Notice that if he pushes through, now he can cut here or here, but he can't cut here. So this is connected. That was my idea. This is a terrible move. I should have spent it doing this and solidifying my group in the upper left. That would have been better. As it is, this does nothing. So here I do attempt to cut off his left side group. Here he plays here. He should have played here. I probably would have resigned at that point. Instead, I don't think maybe he didn't see it, or maybe he was giving me a chance. I don't know. So this is my attempt at killing his left side group. None of that works, by the way, just FYI. Here, I didn't want to just block him because this ends in gote for me, as I have to connect here, and then he gets to play another eye. But so I played this instead. He still just makes the eye. It's not a big deal for him. Here I'm just trying something, anything. And this is him killing my bottom left group. I make a few last-ditch efforts. These are different options that could have played out, but as it is, it ends with a few more moves, and after that I resign. So, where did I go wrong? Well, going back to the beginning, I think there was some fundamental mistakes right up front. So, no pincer there. Don't get greedy. Don't try to steal stuff that doesn't exist yet. This should have just been a solid connection. I was trying to play solidly, but this move here gave him too many groups to harass later in the game. Yeah, so I think really the beginning mistake was this pincer. This pincer set the whole thing in motion, and I should just not have done it because now I have to worry about too many things. This would have been much better. This is a much better board position for me. As it is, even after that, things that happened here, this is probably the second biggest mistake. I should have played at H16 and made a more flexible shape here, and earlier on attacked this group or this group. Those were the two largest mistakes I believe that I made. So I won very badly, or lost, excuse me, that's wishful thinking. I lost very badly. However, I've learned from my mistakes, and that's what this is all about. In order to get better at Go, we need to play to learn, not to win. And so hopefully I've learned something from this, as have you. And until next time, everybody, this is Vail signing off with Joseki with Dummies. Have a great day.